Canadians are used to seeing new faces leading the country. It's almost a tradition, a part of our democratic process that keeps things fresh and dynamic. Every few years we get to decide who will steer the ship, and it's always a mix of excitement and uncertainty. It's part of our system, a system that thrives on change and the promise of new beginnings. But this time, the winds of change are blowing a bit differently. But this time, it's different. This time, the new leader is someone many recognize, someone who has already made a significant mark on the national and international stage. This time, the new leader is someone many recognize. Mark Carney, the former head honcho of the Bank of Canada, is now calling the shots for the whole country. Mark Carney, the former head honcho of the Bank of Canada, is now calling the shots for the whole country. His name is synonymous with financial stability and economic expertise. He swept the Liberal leadership race. With a commanding presence and a clear vision, he managed to secure a landslide victory, got a whopping 86% of the vote. But hold on, 2/3 of Liberal members were barred from voting. No explanation given. Fishy, right? 2/3 of Liberal members were barred from voting. No explanation given. Fishy, right? This has raised quite a few eyebrows and sparked a lot of debates. Carney's win has folks talking. Some are thrilled, seeing him as the steady hand Canada needs in these turbulent times. Some say he's the steady hand Canada needs, others, not so sure. There's a sense of skepticism, a feeling that maybe there's more to the story. He's got a history, this guy. A history that includes rubbing shoulders with the bigwigs at the World Economic Forum. He's rubbed shoulders with the bigwigs at the World Economic Forum. You know, the Davos crowd, the elite of the elite. You know, the Davos crowd, the movers and shakers of the global economy. He's chummy with the United Nations too. His connections run deep and wide. And let's not forget his 21 directorships. 21. That's a lot of influence in a lot of places. He says they're mostly for good causes. Sure. But here's the kicker. The U.S. House Judiciary Committee has him on their radar. The U.S. House Judiciary Committee has him on their radar. They're calling him part of a climate cartel. Why? They're calling him part of a climate cartel. Why? Because of his role in that Glasgow net zero thing. Because of his role in that Glasgow net zero thing. You know, the one where everyone promises to save the planet. You know, the one where everyone promises to save the planet. Carney's past is a mixed bag. Carney's past is a mixed bag. He used to be the top dog at Brookfield Asset Management. He used to be the top dog at Brookfield Asset Management. They're big into fossil fuels. Pipelines too. They're big into fossil fuels. Pipelines too. Everywhere but Canada, that is. And guess what? Everywhere but Canada, that is. And guess what? He moved their headquarters to New York just before announcing his political ambitions. He moved their headquarters to New York just before announcing his political ambitions. Coincidence? You decide. Coincidence? You decide. As Mark Carney steps into his new role, the nation watches closely, wondering what his leadership will bring. Mark Carney's journey to the Prime Minister's seat is anything but ordinary. It's a tale that defies the conventional political narrative. This isn't your typical story of a kid with a dream climbing the political ladder rung by rung. No, Carney's path is filled with unexpected twists and turns. No, sir. Carney took the scenic route. He ventured into territories few politicians dare to tread. He started out in the world of finance, a realm dominated by numbers and economic theories, numbers, spreadsheets, that sort of thing. It was a world where precision and accuracy were paramount. He climbed the ranks at Goldman Sachs, a place known for its high-stakes environment and cutthroat competition. You know, those Wall Street hotshots, the elite of the financial world. Then he moved back to Canada, a homecoming that marked the beginning of a new chapter. Landed himself a gig at the Bank of Canada, a prestigious position that would set the stage for his future endeavors. Eventually, he became the top dog there. Governor Carney, a title that carried significant weight and responsibility, had a nice ring to it. But for Carney, it was just another step in his journey. But he wasn't done yet. Oh no, Carney had bigger ambitions. He was always looking for the next challenge. He set his sights across the pond. The allure of new opportunities beckoned him. Next stop, the Bank of England. Became their governor too, a role that came with its own set of challenges and prestige. First, non-Brit to snag that job, a historic achievement that underscored his exceptional capabilities. Talk about climbing the greasy pole. Carney's ascent was nothing short of remarkable. So here's a guy who spent his entire career in the world of high finance, navigating the complexities of global economies, dealing with money, not people. His expertise lay in financial systems, not in the intricacies of human governance. And now he's running the country. A transition that has left many in awe and some in doubt. Some folks say it's like asking a dentist to perform open-heart surgery, a comparison that highlights the perceived incongruity of his new role. A bit of a stretch, wouldn't you say? Yet Carney's unique journey might just be what the country needs. Mark Carney isn't just any politician, he's a global player. This guy's got connections that span continents and industries. From finance to climate action, Carney's influence is felt far and wide. He's like the Kevin Bacon of international finance and politics. You can trace his connections to almost anyone in the global elite. You know that game, 6 Degrees of Kevin Bacon? Well, with Carney, it's more like 2 degrees. His network is that extensive. Whether it's rubbing shoulders with heads of state or leading discussions at major economic forums, Carney is always in the mix. He's tight with the World Economic Forum crowd, you know, those folks who meet in Davos every year. These are the people who are often seen as the movers and shakers of the world economy. You know, the ones who want to run the world. And Carney is right there with them. He's also buddy-buddy with the United Nations. He's been their special envoy for climate action and finance. Fancy title, eh? This role has put him at the forefront of global climate policy, making him a key player in the fight against climate change. And let's not forget his corporate connections. He's sat on the boards of some big-time companies influencing major business decisions. His reach extends into the corporate world, where his decisions can impact markets and economies. He's even been linked to the climate cartel. That's what some folks are calling the group of powerful people pushing the whole net zero agenda. This group is dedicated to achieving a sustainable future, but their methods and influence are often questioned. Now, having connections isn't necessarily a bad thing. It can open doors and create opportunities. But it does make you wonder, who's he really working for? Canada or his buddies in high places? His extensive network raises questions about his true allegiances and the interests he serves. One thing's for sure, Mark Carney is a man with a foot in many doors, and his influence is undeniable. Mark Carney's a true believer. Believes in climate change, that is. He's been banging on about it for years. Even wrote a book about it, calls it Values, Building a Better World for All. Catchy, eh? He's all about that net zero thing. Wants Canada to be carbon neutral by 2050. That's a tall order. Means we gotta cut back on our emissions. Big time. And how's he planning on doing that? With a carbon tax, of course. He says it'll only apply to corporations. That's what he's saying now anyway. But once a politician gets a taste for taxes, it's hard to stop them. He also wants to slap a carbon tariff on goods coming in from other countries. That'll make everything more expensive. Now, I'm all for protecting the environment, but this whole net zero thing seems a bit far-fetched, and it's gonna cost us a fortune. Section 5. Digital dollars and cents, Carney's vision for banking. Mark Carney's got big plans for your wallet. He wants to get rid of cash, that's right. No more loonies and toonies. He's all about digital currency. Thinks it's the future. He's even talked about creating a synthetic hegemonic currency, whatever that is. Sounds like something out of Star Wars. He reckons this new digital currency will replace the US dollar as the world's reserve currency. Ambitious, eh? Now, I'm all for progress, but this whole digital currency thing makes me nervous. What happens if the power goes out, or your phone dies, or the government decides to freeze your account? It's all a bit too big brother for my liking. Section 6. Storm clouds on the horizon, Canada-US relations under strain. Canada and the US. We're like siblings. We share a border. We watch the same TV shows. We even like some of the same hockey teams. But things haven't always been rosy between us. And with Mark Carney at the helm, things could get a little frosty. Carney's made some enemies south of the border, especially with his talk about replacing the US dollar. The Americans don't take kindly to that sort of thing. They see it as a threat. And they're not afraid to throw their weight around. Remember that time they slapped tariffs on Canadian steel and aluminum? Yeah, that wasn't fun, and it could happen again. Carney's policies could spark a trade war, and that's bad news for everyone. Section 7. The climate cartel controversy and criticism. Mark Carney's no stranger to controversy. He's been called a lot of things in his time, but eco-hypocrite? That's a new one. You see, some folks reckon Carney's not as green as he makes out. They point to his time at Brookfield Asset Management. Remember them? The fossil fuel giant? Yeah, well, Carney used to be their top dog. And they're not exactly known for their environmental record. They've been accused of all sorts of nasty stuff, from polluting the Amazon rainforest to bankrolling pipelines. Now, Carney's defenders say he's just a pragmatist, that he's trying to do the best he can within the system. But his critics aren't buying it. They say he's a wolf in sheep's clothing, a greenwasher, a member of the climate cartel. Section 8, Election Fever. Will Canadians head to the polls early? Canadians love an election, it's like a national sport. And with Mark Carney in charge, we might just get one sooner than expected. You see, Carney's not exactly Mr. Popularity. He's a bit stiff, a bit awkward. Not exactly a natural politician. He's made some gaffes. Said some things that have rubbed people the wrong way. Remember when he said we don't use steel anymore? Yeah, that didn't go over well. And his policies are already proving unpopular. The carbon tax, the digital currency, the whole net zero thing. It's all a bit much for some folks. The conservatives can sense blood in the water. They're already gearing up for an election, distributing lawn signs, fundraising, the whole 9 yards. They think they can capitalize on Carney's unpopularity, and they might just be right. Section 9, A Nation Divided. Carney's Uncertain Legacy. Mark Carney's leadership has divided Canada. Some see him as a savior, a visionary leader who can guide us through turbulent times. They applaud his environmentalism, his global outlook, his commitment to progress. They believe he's the right man at the right time. Others are less convinced. They see him as an out-of-touch elitist, a friend of the powerful, not the people. They worry about his close ties to big business, his radical environmental agenda, his disdain for traditional values. They fear he's leading Canada down a dangerous path. Only time will tell who's right. But one thing's for sure. Mark Carney's time in office will be anything but boring. He's a polarizing figure, a lightning rod for controversy, and his legacy will be debated for years to come.
So hit that subscribe button, ring the bell for notifications, and let's turn the page on a new adventure together. Get ready to experience books like never before, only on VBook 360. Like, comment, and share to support the channel and keep the video magic alive. Thank you for stopping by. And remember, every video has a story, and every story deserves to be shared. See you in the next video.